Trinidad is a boat sailing on the earth. I go sail on it. Oh Lord, I go sail on it. Whether it fast or slow, wheresoever it goes.
All right, everybody, so welcome back. So attorney at law and former temporary senator Farai Hove Masaisai is sharing his perspective as United States support helps Trinidad and Tobago move toward implementing the Advanced Passenger Information System. Now, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar says legislation is being prepared to introduce the system, which is expected to strengthen border security by allowing authorities to screen travelers before they arrive. According to the Prime Minister, and this is what she says, by next week Friday or thereafter, we'll bring a piece of law, the APIS legislation, if I can call it that, or APIS legislation. When we link these together, even before you land, we can have a clear idea whether there's a good guy or a bad guy, to put it simply, landing here. All right, so I know that there are some concerns. Mr. Masaisai, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate
good morning.
it.
Good morning, Marlon, and good morning to your wide international listenership.
Thank you very much. Yes. So on the surface, I think it is safe to say that the Prime Minister has made her intention clear. What is the aim and objective of this legislation? As you look at it on this, as to what she would have said on the surface, sir, do you have any concerns this morning at all?
Well, on the surface, all we have is surface information. We don't have anything in detail as yet. So I trust the Honourable Prime Minister will lay some papers for the senators and certainly the House of Representatives to consider. What we have in our jurisdiction is the Immigration Advanced Passenger Information Act of 2008. That has been in existence since 2008. It came into effect in 2008. And that allows for advanced passenger information. And it means, with respect to any passenger, crew member, or any occupant transported in a vessel. That act was last updated in 2016. What I'm hearing, based on the newspaper reports from The Guardian and The Express over the weekend, is that the Honourable Prime Minister is seeking to bring in an APIS system, which does not currently exist. My concerns with that, now, on the face of it, that is good, because then obviously you'd have advanced information of persons coming into your jurisdiction. What has happened in other jurisdictions, because it does exist in the United States, it has been in existence for over 50 years in the United States. And certainly it exists in Europe and in England. So we have comparators to see how it has impacted on those jurisdictions. So my concern, obviously, is the surveillance and profiling of persons coming into a country. And if we have indeed systems in place to regulate such a system. So such a system involves not only immigration, but it also involves national security. It involves customs and excise. It involves the TTPS. So it's a system that has to have persons in it who are well trained in terms of how to operationalize the system. Because if they are not trained, then they can run a real risk of infringing persons' constitutional rights in terms of in how our constitution is framed, is that the rights are not only available to citizens, it's available to any person that lands on our shores. So you find that even Venezuelan nationals are able to assert breaches of constitutional rights, even though they are not citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So data protection, data retention, abuse, false negatives, false positives. So, for example, we would have seen our recent former Prime Minister detained in one of our Caribbean neighbors' countries. He said he was on a watch list. That is what was told to him when he was detained. If it is you are a person who have a criminal record, but it was subsequently expunged, what systems are we putting in place to notify the immigration immediately so that you don't always be stopped? Because it is a regulatory system. It is a regulatory system, and certainly it will be interesting to see how we implement it, because we have never had it here before. But on the face of it, I'm saying it's a positive thing.
Yes.
Certainly it will enhance our national security, our border agencies, but there must be sophisticated training. And I see that the Honorable Prime Minister is saying that it is going to be done hand in hand with the United States. So long as it doesn't infringe our sovereignty, I'm all with partnering with any country who has the benefit of experience, hands-on experience in terms of how these things operate.
Yeah. So Prasad Bisesa, according to the report, or a report in the newspaper, said the initiative forms part of a broader push to modernize national security infrastructure, with international cooperation playing a key role. And I'm sure that the argument is going to be, or has been, well, here's what, this is to deal with the criminal element. But what about the law-abiding citizen when it comes to their information being shared with, let's say, the authorities in the U.S.? And I know that people are very much concerned about what is going to be done with the information, law-abiding citizens I'm speaking about, and concerns about the information getting into the wrong hands and so on. How does the government, in light of what may be concerns such as those, as I explained, how does the government deal with that?
So, well, the government will have to deal with that by, I would think, simultaneously enhancing our data protection legislation. All right, because that's one of the concerns even in the bigger government. So even in the UK, the governments such as those in the EU have faced challenges in ensuring that data sharing between countries is strictly necessary, proportionate, and secure, with risks of misuse when shared with third countries or other government agencies. So it has to be proportionate, because at the end of the day, and certainly you're referring to law-abiding citizens. So this is what I'm speaking. I'm speaking in the four corners of the persons who are law-abiding, who have not consented to their information being shared. How are we going to protect their rights? Because certainly we under our constitution, we have a constitutional right, a fundamental right to privacy. Yes. So certainly in the UN, there has been a violation of privacy rights. So the UN and other bodies have highlighted the need to ensure that API and PNR respect human rights and privacy. The broad mandate to collect and transmit this information by airlines can lead to an erosion of privacy, particularly when authorities use unsolicited messages to update passenger status in real time. So we're not living in a bubble. We are certainly not the first to adopt this type of legislation. So there are real examples there. In the United Nations, they discuss it. In the European Union, they discuss it. And certainly in the United States, they discuss it. So we have to be aware that these are things that will affect the citizens. All right? And the thing with Trinidad is that rights to privacy are constitutional rights. And it's there in our written Republican Constitution. It's a Bill of Rights, fundamental rights issue. So we can face some hurdles there if we don't put systems in place to make sure that what we share with our international partners is proportionate. And certainly it's not disproportionate. What would be there if there is an infringement? If we overstep the bound accidentally, we overstep the bound. There has been concerns in the UN where this information has been used for political mischief, to silence trade unions. So we have live examples. We could give examples of where it has been misused by authorities, and even authorities in democratic societies. So yes, it is good. It's good to have it, but it must be proportionate and it must be balanced. It must be justified, especially when we share with our international partners.
Yeah. So is it, you think that in light of some of the concerns that you would have raised here this morning, you feel that there should be some sort of greater consultation on legislation or what is being proposed such as this? I know that this is going to be discussed in the Parliament and so on, but you feel that that would be enough to inform the population as to what the government is trying to do here with the United States and to allay the fears of the wider population, if there are any?
Well, definitely all legislation that touch and concern your fundamental rights, they ought to be widest consultation. And certainly this will touch and concern fundamental rights of the citizens. So I would expect that the government, yes, you'd bring it to Parliament, but certainly you'd have to persuade the senators, you'd have to persuade the opposition senators, the independent senators. So I think widest consultation with non-governmental organizations will assist in terms of passing the correct legislation, because they will be looking after the interests of their members. Certainly the Law Association would have something to say on this type of legislation. One of the things that I found was that when there are false negatives, so for example, when citizens are falsely flagged by flawed automated systems, because it's a system. Systems are prone to error. So for example, if for someone has the same name or very similar name, and it's certainly in our small society, you may have many John Thomases. And no offense to Mr. John Thomas, the singer, but it's a very popular name.
Yes.
I even have an uncle named John Thomas, but no relation to the John Thomas, the well-known singer. But that is a name that can be flagged. And certainly if the system is incorrect with its information or improperly targets someone, what is the redress?
Yes.
What is the redress? So they must have something in that legislation that allows for speedy redress if it is your constitutional rights are infringed. Because the nature of constitutional claims is that they take quite a long time in the constitutional court for you to be compensated or vindicated that it was not you. Because if you are flagged by your country and you are unable to enter, say, the United States, and your country takes 5 years to fix that faux pas.
Yeah.
And they just tell you sorry after the 5 years, and in that 5 years, your child graduates from university, you're unable to attend, and that sort of thing. Someone gets ill in your family, they have to go abroad for treatment, and you can't be with them in their final days. No, certainly you have to think of this. So what I'm hoping is that legislation is well rehearsed, well researched, and certainly we have comparators in the bigger countries where they have made the mistakes, and certainly we can learn from those mistakes.
But this legislation is not to be taken lightly.
We can't take it lightly. Freedom of movement is a right. Freedom of movement is part of our constitutional rights as well. So you have a right to freedom of movement. So if I want to travel, I'm entitled to travel unless you justify why you have flagged my passport or so forth. All right? And this is specifically to those law-abiding citizens that may fall afoul of the system. And I'm not saying fall afoul of the law, but the system may let them down. What is the redress there? So definitely a widest consultation should take place. It should not be rushed legislation. As I said before, these legislations have been alive and well in the United States for over half a century. Yes, it's about time it's more than sufficient time to bring it to Trinidad, but we have live examples, not only from the West, but from the East.
Yeah.
In terms of Europe and England.
Yeah, Mr. Masaisai, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us this morning. We do appreciate it. Bye for now, sir.
Thank you, Marlon. Thank you, viewers.
All right, everybody. So we must go to a very short break. Do we have anything for our viewers before we go? Yeah, yeah. We have something from, oh yeah, yeah. All right, we're coming back, everybody. We'll have something for you when we come back.